my name's Elise. I just graduated college and I'm a full-time dessert blogger. You can find all of my recipes at sweetsbyelise.com. I specialize in easy, quick, approachable recipes that are super indulgent and perfect for the home baker. Today, we are going to be making my triple chocolate brownies. These brownies are crazy. So good. They are super chewy, crazy fudgy, and really, really, really rich. I promise you are gonna love these. The best part about them is that you need one bowl and a whisk to make these, and they'll be ready to pop in the oven in just 10 minutes. So let's get started. So all you're gonna need for this recipe is one large mixing bowl, a whisk, and I like to melt my butter and chocolate over the stove, so just a small saucepan, or you could use a heat-safe bowl. And you are also gonna need an 8 or 9-inch square baking pan. I use a metal pan, and I will always line my brownie tray with parchment paper and spray the parchment paper with cooking spray. So to do that, I spray the pan heavily. Then I just take a sheet of parchment and I stick it in the pan, and then I spray the pan again. The absolute worst thing ever is when your brownies get stuck to your pan and they get all gross and crumbly and they break as you cut them. Parchment paper helps you avoid that big mess. Now that our pan is ready to rumble, we are gonna walk through our ingredients. To start, we have regular unsalted butter. If you have to use salted, then just leave out some of the salt in the recipe. I specify that in my blog post. You're gonna melt that down with chocolate chips. I use dark chocolate chips just because I think it creates the best flavor, but you can use whatever flavor you'd like. Then we've got plain white granulated sugar, light brown sugar that has been packed into the measuring cup or measured using a kitchen scale. We've got 4 large eggs. These are super important for the recipe. Do not skip out and leave out an egg just because you don't want to use 4. This creates the chewiest, fudgiest brownies with that gorgeous, crinkly, shiny top. Next, we're gonna need some cocoa powder. This creates extra chocolate flavor. I use natural. You can use Dutch if you'd like. You're also gonna need some flour. Make sure to measure your flour properly using a kitchen scale. They're like $10 on Amazon. I'll link my favorite one in the description below. If you do not have a kitchen scale, use a spoon to transfer your flour from your container into your measuring cups, and then use a knife to sweep across the top to level it. This prevents dry, cakey brownies. Last but not least, you'll need a little bit of salt. This brings out the sweetness and enhances overall flavor. All right, and now that we have our ingredients, let's get going. We're gonna start off by chopping our butter into squares, pouring those chocolate chips on top, and then putting them over medium heat and stirring until everything is melted. Again, you can also do this in the microwave in 30-second intervals, stirring between each interval until everything's melted. All right, we're popping this on the heat. And while that's heating up, you can start mixing together your sugars and your eggs. We've got our granulated sugar, light brown sugar, and our 4 eggs. Now we are gonna mix everything together only until you see everything come together smoothly. Something important about this recipe is that you don't wanna overmix at any stage because it could impact the texture of the brownies. So every single time we add something, only mix until you just see it combine. And here is where I'm gonna stop mixing. All right, now I've been continuing to mix the chocolate mixture while it's been on the stovetop, and that's what it'll look like when it is fully ready to go. Let it sit for just a couple of minutes before adding it into the sugar and egg mixture because we don't want to accidentally cook the eggs. And now we're adding the chocolate mixture. Look at that, just absolutely beautiful. Again, only mixing until you see the chocolate combine into the rest of the ingredients. That's looking good to me. And now we're adding the dry ingredients. This is even more important that you do not overmix because you will create dense, dry, cakey brownies instead of our soft, chewy, and fudgy brownies. First, our cocoa powder, our lovely, properly measured flour, and our salt. Mix, say it with me, only until you see the ingredients disappear. Do not mix past that point. I swear there's something beautiful about brownie batter. I could just dive in. That to me is looking pretty good. As you can see, there's still a little bit around the edges, but not enough to keep mixing. The best thing about this recipe is that you can fix it up however you like. You can add chocolate chips, you can add M&Ms, you can add any sort of candy you'd like, you can add marshmallows. Add whatever your heart desires to this batter right now. I am gonna add chocolate chips today just because I like to keep it simple and fun. And this part is where you can measure with your heart. I'm gonna add both semi-sweet and dark chocolate chips. Uh-oh. Whisk those in very carefully. Even fold, use a spoon. Perfect. Oh my gosh. Now we are grabbing that pan that we prepared earlier so gorgeously with the parchment paper and cooking spray. And let's dump the batter in. Just pure beauty. And here you can use your spatula to kind of even out the batter. I mean, come on, come on, come on. And if you didn't, you're lying. And now we are gonna pop the pan in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. In she goes. And we'll see her in a few short minutes. Let's chat about when brownies are finished baking, because this can make or break your brownies. For these brownies specifically, the top will look shiny and it will look like you could almost pop a bubble with the crinkly top. If you insert a toothpick into the center of the pan, it should come out with batter on it. It shouldn't look super chunky. I'm gonna show you what it looks like when I do it, but it should have a layer of batter on it. If you cook the brownies until the toothpick comes out clean, you have over baked your brownies. Sorry. If you want chewy and fudgy brownie, the brownies will continue to cook as they cool. So you don't want to bake until a toothpick comes out clean. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes in my metal pan and tiny oven, which means I think my brownies are gonna be about done. They're looking good. So here's what the brownies are looking like on top. As you can see, that shiny top, some bubbles. It looks like if I were to tap it, there would be a little bit of an extra crack. I'm gonna show you what it looks like to put a toothpick in the center. That looks perfect to me. As you can see, there's not huge chunks of batter, but there's a layer, meaning that the brownies still have a little bit more cooking to do. And they will do that cooking while they're sitting cooling in this hot pan. These brownies are gonna need to cool in this pan, for at least an hour. I know, it's the worst to wait to cut into these babies, but they will completely fall apart and still have some setting up to do, which means they need to stay put. It's been a long, terrible hour waiting for these brownies to cool, but it's finally time to slice and try. Another secret hack, I like to run a knife around the edges just to kind of help release, even though you really shouldn't have any problems because you've parchment papered and sprayed if you follow the directions. But here we go. All right, they're out. When I bake these brownies in my metal 8x8, I like to cut these into 4x4. When I bake in my glass 8x8, I can only cut the brownies into 3x3 without them being kind of funky. But just so that we can dive in quicker, I'm just gonna cut a row off and show you what these brownies look like. Literally watch this knife just glide through them. Get ready. This is a corner piece. Are you kidding me? Are you literally kidding me? Seriously, look at that. Look at that. These are truly the thickest, fudgiest, easiest brownies ever. And I have been waiting to do this. Come on. And luckily these brownies are just a handful of ingredients and 10 minutes of prep time away from your hands. Please, please, please let me know if you give this recipe a try. You can leave a comment below or you can leave a rating and review on my website. Click the link in my description or you can type Sweets by Elise triple chocolate brownies in your web browser and the recipe will come right up. Be sure to subscribe for other fun recipe walkthroughs and other baking related content because I would love to have you here. But that's all for today for the triple chocolate brownies. I hope you enjoyed this video and happy baking.